Lieutenant Kate Morrison stared at the data scrolling across her screen in Luna Base's intelligence center. Her hands trembled as she processed what she was seeing. Supply manifests, troop movements, and weapons stockpiles, all pointing to a massive military buildup in the Saturn colonies.
Ow.
None of it had been reported through official channels. She grabbed her tablet and rushed through the sterile white corridors toward Colonel Ward's office. The overhead lights flickered, casting strange shadows on the curved walls. Something was wrong. The usual background hum of the base's systems had changed pitch. "Colonel, you need to see this immediately," Kate said, bursting through the door. "The Saturn colonies have been—" A harsh alarm cut through the air. Red emergency lights began pulsing along the corridors. "Lieutenant, what the hell's happening?" Ward demanded, rising from his desk. "Sir, the orbital defense grid just went dark. All of it. Every satellite, every platform, complete communications blackout." They rushed to the observation deck. Through the reinforced windows, they could see Earth hanging in space, a blue marble wrapped in clouds. But something was different. Tiny flashes of light appeared in high orbit, like distant lightning. "Those are weapons signatures," Kate whispered. "They're firing on the surface." The command center erupted into chaos. Screens filled with incoming data as the first impacts hit Earth's coastal cities. New York, Shanghai, Lagos, Sydney, all under simultaneous attack from orbital platforms they never saw coming. Kate's hands clenched into fists as she watched the destruction unfold. She had seen this coming. For months she'd filed reports about unusual activity in the Saturn colonies. But no one had taken them seriously. The colonies were supposed to be peaceful research outposts and mining operations. No one believed they could build a military force in secret. "They've been planning this for years," she said, her voice hollow. "The shipyards, the resource stockpiles, the troop movements. It was all preparation for this moment." Colonel Ward's face had gone pale. "How did we miss this?" "We didn't miss it, sir. We ignored it." A new alarm blared through the base. Kate's tablet lit up with fresh tactical data. Her blood ran cold as she processed what she was seeing. "Sir, we have multiple hostile contacts on approach. Saturn warships, closing fast on lunar orbit." Through the observation windows, she could see them now. Dark shapes moving against the stars, their engines burning bright as they approached Luna Base. Earth burned below, and humanity's greatest war was about to begin. Kate knew then that everything was about to change. And she couldn't shake the feeling that she could have prevented it all, if only someone had listened. The Mars shipyards burned. Commander Jack Hawthorne watched from the bridge of his stealth corvette as Saturn forces methodically destroyed Earth's biggest military installation beyond lunar orbit. Each explosion sent chunks of metal and machinery spinning into the red planet's atmosphere. "This is our only shot," he said to his strike team. "Once those shipyards are gone, we lose our ability to build heavy warships. Earth falls within months." Kate Morrison stood at his side, her Luna Base uniform still covered in dust from their narrow escape. "Their patrol pattern has a 3-minute gap on the eastern approach. If we time it right, we can slip through." The Corvette's engines hummed at minimal power. They'd spent 2 weeks getting here, hiding behind debris and asteroids, watching Saturn's forces strengthen their grip on the solar system. "Team, gear up," Hawthorne ordered. "Remember, their tech is better than ours. Faster ships, stronger shields. But they've never fought a real war. We have..." In the loading bay, 20 soldiers checked their magnetic boots and combat suits. The plan was simple. Dock with the main shipyard, fight their way to the control center, and reactivate the automated defense systems. Kate loaded her rifle, trying not to think about the billions on Earth counting on them. The Saturn forces had knocked out most major cities in their first strike. The survivors needed these shipyards. The Corvette accelerated. Warning lights flashed as enemy sensors swept past them. Kate held her breath. 3 minutes to cross open space. 3 minutes where a single enemy ship could spot them. They made it. The Corvette's docking clamps engaged with a shudder. Hawthorne led the charge through the airlock. The shipyard's corridors were eerily quiet, emergency lights casting red shadows on the walls. Contact front. The first firefight erupted at an intersection. Saturn troops in sleek combat suits opened fire. 2 of Hawthorne's soldiers fell immediately. "Push through," he shouted. Kate provided covering fire as they advanced. The enemy's weapons were devastating, but their tactics were sloppy. They hadn't expected resistance here. The team fought their way toward the control center, leaving a trail of bodies both sides in their wake. Kate's hands shook as she reloaded. The shipyard's massive windows showed Mars below, its surface scarred by recent bombardments. They reached the control center. Hawthorne's tech specialist rushed to the main console while the rest secured the room. Victory seemed within reach. Then Kate saw it. A message flashing on one of the screens. Her heart stopped as she read the sender's ID and security clearance. "Commander," she said, her voice tight. "These orders came from Earth's command. They gave the Saturn forces access to the shipyards. Our own leaders helped them take this facility. The implications hit everyone at once. This wasn't just a war against the colonies. They were fighting an enemy that had already infiltrated the highest levels of Earth's government." The underground resistance base shook as another bombardment hit the surface above. Kate and Hawthorne stood before a holographic display showing Admiral Laura Chen's service record. 25 years of decorated service, countless medals, and absolute loyalty to Earth, or so everyone had thought. "She's been feeding intel to Saturn for years," Kate said, scrolling through encrypted messages they'd recovered from the Mars shipyards. Ship positions, defense codes, patrol routes, everything they needed for the first strike. Hawthorne slammed his fist on the table. Half the fleet followed her orders without question. She used our own ships to help them establish orbital superiority. The resistance base was crowded with military personnel and civilians who'd escaped the burning cities. They'd converted an old mining facility into their command center, 2 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains. The constant rumbling from above reminded them that even here, they weren't safe. "Their quantum communication network is the key," Kate said, pointing to a technical schematic. "It's how Chen coordinates with Saturn forces. If we can shut it down, their entire command structure falls apart." A young lieutenant burst into the room. "Commander, we've got movement. Multiple dropships entering the atmosphere heading straight for us." Hawthorne activated the base's tactical display. Dozens of enemy signatures descended through the clouds. Their trajectory was too precise to be random. "They know we're here," Kate said. Someone told them. The base's warning sirens blared. Civilians rushed to the lower levels while soldiers ran to their positions. Kate and Hawthorne sprinted to the command center. The main screen showed a transmission coming in. Admiral Chen's face appeared, her uniform pristine, her expression cold. "Commander Hawthorne, Lieutenant Morrison, surrender now, and I'll ensure the civilians are spared." "Why, Laura?" Hawthorne demanded. "You swore to protect Earth." "I am protecting Earth. The colonies have evolved beyond our outdated system. This war will unite humanity under stronger leadership." The first explosions rocked the base. Emergency lights flashed as sections began losing power. "They're using bunker-busting charges," someone shouted. "The outer defenses are failing." Kate accessed the security feeds. Enemy troops were already breaching the upper levels. But something about their movement patterns seemed wrong. They were ignoring critical defensive positions, heading straight for the reactor room, Kate whispered. "They're not here to capture us. They're going to overload the reactor and bury this whole facility." Chen smiled on the screen. "You always were too clever, Lieutenant. Goodbye." The base's lights went dark. In the distance, they heard the reactor's warning sirens begin to wail. The resistance fleet emerged from behind Earth's moon, engines burning at full power. Kate stood on the bridge of their flagship, watching as hundreds of ships moved into attack formation. This was everything they had left, every surviving vessel that hadn't joined Chen's betrayal. "Saturn fleet detected," the tactical officer announced. 50 capital ships approaching from high orbit. Their flagship is leading the formation. Kate's hands tightened on the railing as the enemy fleet came into view. At their center was the massive dreadnought that had led the first strike on Earth. Its hull bristled, with weapons that could tear through their ships like paper. "Signal from the enemy flagship," the communications officer said. "Text only." Kate read the message and felt her world collapse. The signature at the bottom belonged to Fleet Captain Daniel Morrison, her brother. "Kate." Hawthorne's voice was gentle. "We knew there would be familiar faces on their side. He was stationed on Titan when communications went dark," she said. "I thought he was dead. Instead, he was helping plan all this." The first shots blazed across space. The resistance fleet split into attack groups, following Hawthorne's strategy. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they had surprise on their side. No one expected them to attack the Saturn fleet directly. "Boarding team's ready," Hawthorne reported. "If we can get you onto that flagship, you can access their command network. Shut down their quantum communications." Kate nodded, trying to focus on the mission instead of the fact that her brother was commanding the enemy fleet. The resistance ships pressed their attack, taking heavy losses to create a gap in the enemy formation. Their transport shot through the chaos of battle, dodging debris and weapons fire. Kate watched Earth below, its surface still scarred from the initial bombardment. Everything she was fighting for was down there. The transport slammed into the dreadnought's hull. Cutting charges blew a hole in the armor. Kate led her team inside. Fighting through corridors, she somehow knew her brother had walked. They were halfway to the command center when Hawthorne's voice crackled over the radio. "Kate, stop! Enemy reinforcements just dropped out of warp. They're targeting our flagship. We need the command codes now, or everyone dies." At that moment, Daniel appeared at the end of the corridor wearing a Saturn fleet uniform. He raised his hands, showing he was unarmed. "Hello, sister," he said. "I can give you those codes. But first, you need to know the truth about why we started this war." Kate raised her weapon, her finger trembling on the trigger. In her ear, she could hear Hawthorne's ship taking heavy damage. She had seconds to decide: trust her brother and possibly save the fleet, or shoot him and fight her way to the command center. Time was running out. Kate kept her weapon trained on Daniel as explosions rocked the flagship. "Talk fast." "Earth's government found something in the Saturn moons," Daniel said. "An energy source that could power civilization for centuries. They kept it secret, planned to control it. Couldn't let that happen." Another blast shook the ship. Through the viewport, Kate saw 2 resistance cruisers explode. "So you've murdered billions?" she demanded. "The civilian casualties weren't supposed to happen. Jin changed the attack plan at the last minute. She went rogue. Kate, we lost control of our own revolution." Kate's radio crackled. "Lieutenant, we're losing containment," Hawthorne shouted. "The flagship's targeting our reactor." Daniel stepped forward. "Let me help you stop this. Chen has to be eliminated before she destroys everything." Kate made her decision. She lowered her weapon and tossed Daniel a spare rifle. Together, they sprinted toward the command center. The battle outside reached its peak. Earth's atmosphere glowed with weapons fire and burning ships. The resistance fleet fought desperately against overwhelming odds. They breached the command center to find Admiral Chen waiting. She stood calmly as alarms blared around her. "The Morrison siblings united at last," Chen said. "How touching, how useless." Kate saw the truth in Chen's eyes. This had never been about freedom or resources. Chen wanted power, and the Saturn colonies were just her tool. "Now watch as I end this pathetic resistance," Chen said, reaching for the command console. Multiple things happened at once. Daniel fired at Chen. Chen's guards opened fire. Kate dove for the console. A bullet struck her shoulder. Through the pain, Kate's fingers found the right commands. The quantum communication network went dark. Across the solar system, Saturn's forces lost coordination. Chen screamed in rage and raised her sidearm. Daniel threw himself in front of Kate, taking the shot meant for her. Kate's return fire caught Chen in the chest. "Hawthorne now," Kate shouted into her radio. The resistance fleet executed their final gambit. Ships appeared from behind Earth's debris field, vessels they'd hidden there weeks ago. They caught the Saturn fleet in a devastating crossfire. Kate held her dying brother as the battle turned. "I'm sorry," Daniel whispered. "Make it mean something." Hours later, Kate stood in the flagship's observation deck. The Saturn fleet had surrendered. Earth was secured. But the cost had been astronomical. Hawthorne joined her, his uniform still stained with blood. "What do we do now?" Kate watched the sun rise over Earth's scarred surface. "We rebuild. But this time, we do it right. No more secrets. No more power games. One solar system united." She touched the viewport, thinking of Daniel. "And we make sure everyone knows the truth about how this war really ended." Below them, humanity's homeworld turned, waiting for a new dawn.